I've been an agent for 16 years, and my story is that I started as a buyer's agent, and then now here I am today, and I have 4 buyer's agents on my team, and I have a team of, I have to like 12 or 13 of us all together, and we sold like 153 units last year.
That is amazing, amazing. So I want to hear this right. You started out as a buyer's agent on somebody else's team.
I did. Yes, I did.
So explain that a little bit more for me, if you don't mind.
Sure. Well, I think it's the piece that I was so scared I didn't know anything. So I was like, well, that sounded like a great idea to be on somebody's team who knew so much more than me. I really liked that mentor and the class and all of those kind of things. And I loved being a buyer's agent. I would have stayed being a buyer's agent for a much longer period of time if the market hadn't changed. So I mean, I just loved it. I loved being that where I only got to do my one good job. I was really good at that one job, which is why I created the team. Again, it wasn't because I wanted to create this team. I just wanted to do my one job and not have to do all the jobs.
I love that. I love that. Okay. So how did you actually just get into the business, and how did you find KW?
My friend was a real estate agent, and I was a graphic designer of all things, but it was a horrible one. I talked too much. I used to get in trouble for talking. And my friend she kept telling me, be an agent. And I saw her have a little more money than I did. So that's kind of a funny story and so I was like, well, look at that. I think I can do that. And then she was a buyer's agent. So and if now Stacy's on my team. And what I know now, if you don't know, is Stacy's really good at selling something. Is telling you something's going to be a lot more glamorous and easier than it is. So, but I'm glad. It's the best thing. The moment I did my first open house, I knew it was for me. I'm like, here is what I'm supposed to be doing. It was just hands down. Like I could feel that I was much more comfortable doing something like this than other. And my background is the age old. I was a waiter and a bartender for 15 years. So.
Wow. How much has your business grown in the past year? Units, volume?
So we went from, I was kind of stuck I'll just kind of go back like 5 years. I kind of felt like I was stuck around 80. So you kind of are, and which is not a bad business, but I needed to kind of really jump what that next one was. I was maybe doing 30 listings a year, which was still felt, like, how do I grow this? And so the next jump was really getting the ISA. So I got an ISA, and that really jumped me up to almost that 100, the next thing. So that really was the key for taking that off my plate. It wasn't just taking the buyers off my plate, it was taking that lead gen and really being very super purposeful with it. Jumped me up to the next piece, along with the listing coordinator. So taking more focus and getting more specialized. And so then we were at, I think, 130 the year before, 150 last year. Our goal for this year was 200. And we were blazing towards 200 at the beginning of this year. I mean, we were like, oh my gosh, we're so going to hit this. This was, we've got the marketing out, we've got everything out, we just are going to hit this. And so of course then this hit, and then so yes, things lightened up for sure. But we still sold houses. So I'd still say we had maybe 10 to 13 at a time in escrow, which is one of the reasons people always ask me why I want to do volume. And that was exactly the reason why. I never wanted to grind down to zero. So doing volume like that will always ensure that we keep the lights on.
Love it. Love it. Hey guys, I can see people texting me already. If you could do me a favor and just put it in the chat box and we'll get to the questions. That'll be awesome. Tell us about your organizational chart. What does that look like?
So I have if you can remember this, I have an operations person. Her name is Darlene.
And that was your first hire?
Pardon?
What was your first hire?
An assistant. Darlene actually was my first hire. Darlene was my first hire. And then she transitioned over time to, she's done every job on there. So switching her to more of an operations means she's the backup for any job that gets left out. So right now she is doing 2 jobs, listing coordination, while she hires that person and that. We are in need of a listing coordinator. We have a runner. We just hired a contract to close person. We were using the office TC for a very long time. I think you can go really far without having to hire that. I do have it's the only thing I have my buyer's agents pay for. I have them pay for $250 a transaction for that because they were already paying it through the TC. So it's the only thing they help with. Everything else I pay for. And then I have a virtual assistant. And
go ahead and mute everybody again, and then I'm going to read. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead and unmute you, Renee. Renee, unmute yourself. Okay. Okay, perfect.
Oh, yeah. So then I have virtual assistants. I've also, the next segue to this was virtual assistants.
Where did you find your virtual assistant?
My Outdesk, and now we are also switching to Phone Animal. And so we're switching to Phone Animal for inside salespeople, and they're, I really like this. This is brand new for the Phone Animal thing, but it seems like it's going to be a good transition for that.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Where does your business come from right now?
It's a combination of farm. We send over 20,000 postcards out a month, which has not translated into the business yet. I mean, it's getting us there, but it will well beyond 200 with how many we're sending out and after many years, you know how it goes. A lot of Sphere, and then a lot of just online ads, online searching is what that comes to. So it's just finding me naturally that I do so much business that people are Googling for me.
Awesome. Okay. Okay. So can you tell us about anything special that you do in regarding pricing? What sources you consider when you're doing your pricing, you know, your CMA and so forth?
Say that again. Say that again.
Oh, I just got this text. Can you tell us about anything special that you do regarding pricing of the homes? What sources do you consider? Zestimate, tax records, CMA, price square footage?
So we use something called Cloud CMA. I think you guys probably all have that. So I use a Cloud CMA for every listing appointment. I bring a Cloud CMA and I bring it on the first visit. And then I go, just like I say an appraiser, I go 300 square feet above and below, and I try and go in the area. I might have some idea of condition, but I just bring all the comps. I try and bring at least 10 comps with me so that I can filter out right then and there what the price is. And because I've seen so much.
Awesome. Thank you. How do you handle getting referrals and repeat businesses from your SOI?
That was probably it took its time. I have mailed to my Sphere since day one. I mean, literally the first month I was there, they told me to get names, I got names. And so just being continually mailing to them and keeping in contact with them some way. I wish I could say I was really good. I'm not that person who hits you up every month or does these, you know, I'm not constantly hounding for these, but it's just always showing that we're here for resources for them. And then they in turn give us the business as well. And so it was the biggest thing that I thought, well, I was going to come into be an agent and then the referrals were going to rain down on me. You know, nobody could just wait to give me that next person. And so it's really, you know, there's always that handful that's going to do it. It's just being, you know, I think I've always created this whole business as being a resource, not having my hand out of what you can give to me, but me going, okay, do you need a painter? Here's this. Oh, let me do a garage sale for the community. Oh, geez, your swim team needs a donation. Let me put my name on that and I'll give you $500. Like, you know, just always trying to be a resource instead of that.
And you're thinking for them and moving forward.
Yes. Yeah. But I don't like calling. That's not my style. And there's great people who do a huge business guy going, who do you know that wants to buy and sell today? That's not my style. I want to, which probably costs me more, but that's just not my style. Got it.
Got it. When you get a listing appointment for a house, obviously, right? What steps do you take prior to the listing appointment?
So the first thing I do is I pull the tax record, and then I go into, and then I look it up on our MLS to see, has it sold since 97 when we started keeping records? So I want to know the whole history of the house. Like I don't put any qualifiers in. I put like 907 Ashwood in. And I want to see, you know, did it get canceled? Did they switch agents? Who was the last person who sold it? Why are they calling me instead of that last person? I'm looking at the condition of it. Did, you know, all of those things. That's the first two things that I do. As the tax record is different than the MLS too. And then from there, then I go and pull the CMA.
Who does that? You or yours?
I do. I have had people do it over time. That, you know, Darlene at one point was pulling some comps for me in some way. And then it was nice to kind of go back and look at them again. I had REOs for a while. And so when you have REOs, it's not as like critical. So she used to go pull me a first batch, and then it would nice to have two sets of eyes on that. But I haven't done that in a long, long time. I do it because I feel like I've got to talk about it. So as painful as it is, I do it.
How do you handle price reductions?
That is a good question. I can tell you, I say what I heard somebody, one of that, I'm going to have a hard conversation. And that I like that really kind of comes into that to segue in. With another, I just did this for the first time, and it was just before the whole, we had a shelter in place. I said, I want to meet with you to have a price reduction. I heard Sue Adler say that she does all price reductions in person. And I thought, well, that's really great. And I can tell you, that person was so grateful for me coming over and having another meeting with them and doing that in front of them versus one I just did over the phone and then I got fired. So you're like, okay, well, clearly the in-person one would have went a much better route to probably getting my way, showing my value into this, and it making, they wanted to blame me because it wasn't selling. So if you can do an in-person, it can be hard, but you know, and I can't say I do all of them, but that if you have one that you think might be squirrely, go do it in person and pull your comps and show why.
Got it. Got it. What is your team's one thing this year?
I'd say for administrative, it's a lot about operations and being customer service. So it's always our one thing of really, how can we get our systems down in place so we come across smooth? There's just so many steps in listing and selling homes, so many. So how can we look like it's flawless to us? And how can we just improve our systems and be better about that?
You leverage command for all your systems?
I'm sorry?
You leverage command?
So we're just going into there. I heard you guys talking about it. So we put, I think, 3,000 of our sphere into command. And so that was, you know, painful, but we want to move forward and we want to get that going. So we're in there. We're in.
Yeah. What I would just get a one-on-one with Zach, Desiree.
It was like a more than a one-on-one getting that final step, getting 3,000 in there. It was a plea for help, you know. Now, how do we get it back out? Wait, we got to do a mailing list. So, but he's so good and he's so, you know, responsive for all of that. So yeah, we did it. We're really trying to push forward and we want to be on the, you know, we're a big team. And so we want to be one of those people that are on the forefront of getting that in there. I want to use it.
Awesome. How do you hold your team accountable?
A lot more meetings than I'm comfortable with. It is so many meetings. So I think most of us who are in this position, we want you just to go figure it out and go and sell, and then I'll be mad at you if you don't. So I've tried that style and it doesn't work. And so it's really a lot of phone conversations. It's a lot of, you know, where are you at? It's right now I'm doing I've re-implemented a Wednesday. We do a scripting class, and then afterwards, it's each of them get a one-on phone call to go through where are they at. So accountability of what's, you know, what how come you didn't reach your goals? Just a lot of communication back to that. But it's that same something I want to delegate that piece out. I want them to figure it out themselves. There's a lot of things that I want that to happen, and it's not. And I also would go back to say I probably lost a couple people, or I would have known sooner if I was having those regular meetings. And so if you have those regular meetings, you can see sooner whether or not that was going to happen for you.
Let's dig deep here. So what I heard is you lost a few agents, right? So It wasn't, do you feel like it was because you weren't touching him enough, you know what I mean, talking and meeting one-on-one and things like that? Is that what
I don't know if it was because of that, but I would say I would have known and been able to dial it in and then have been able to looking sooner for the next person. What I can tell is it's almost now, I can see it when they start to do it. They stop reporting their numbers. They stop showing up. They stop not wanting to do this. I'm like, they're about to go. And then 2 weeks later they quit. So at least I would have been backed up maybe by a month if I would have kind of maybe nipped it in the bud to hear that they were trying to leave me. There's very few that are going to stay. I mean, it's like, they say it's like an 18-month cycle because I make this look easy. And so I'm going to go back and I can do exactly what Renee did. And I hope they do, but most of them don't want to put the work in and do all of these kind of things. So they're going to leave. I just need to know when.
Got it. Because what has happened is like people will leave a team and then they'll go, back on a full cap, and then they feel like they weren't getting the leverage they were promised, and then the light shines. Oh my gosh, this isn't as easy as I thought it was. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I've noticed that.
Yes, it is. I noticed it too. And then unfortunately, maybe they even go. I mean, it's really, really unfortunate. They usually end up, back exactly where I got them from. So if they were doing 5 to 7, they go back finally to doing 5 to 7. If they go back to nothing, if I got them from nothing, they usually back to nothing. So, I mean, it goes to show you, but I am the success story. You can do it. You can going from a buyer's agent, being on a team, to going that next step, learn it, to grow. I mean, I didn't come in with the plan though to be on my own. I came with the plan to be a buyer's agent. I really just wanted that. I loved it.
Right. But now look at you, right?
Yeah,
So,
now look at me. Yeah, look at me paying all the bills. Yeah. So, yeah.
well, and if you think about it, it's what they put into it, it's what they're going to get out of it, right? And it's also what you put into it and show the value, consistent value for your buyer's agents and your listing agents. They're going to stay with you if they see the value. Just like what's with the market center, right? If we show value, consistency on that, people will stay with us. If not, they will reach out to someplace else. It's a coaching call on, it's a coaching moment or an opportunity for all of us, right?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's 100%. That's where I go wrong, is not showing the value of as many ways as that's why, and that is why they start to go. I had 2 of them tell me I'm going to give myself a raise by leaving you. And I'm like, how is that? I'm like, and so let's explore that more, but they're just so sure that same amount of business is going to come. I'm like, I just had one, and he's closed 18 deals. I mean, really doing well. We're like 17 of the 18 came from me, and the other one was your mother. How are you going to do this? I mean, I'm just more, how are you planning on doing this? I'm going to do it, Renee. I'm going to do it. And he still hasn't. So I'm just upset for him too. I mean, he was really doing well.
It's sad because you feel for them, right? And here, you know, they're struggling. You want to help them. And then sometimes people want us to restructure things as the market center for, it's just interesting how it all gets rolled out.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate that. Let me see. What's your systems on a runner? What is that like per task? What is that like?
Oh, so a runner at a certain point, I mean, I think we got them. So it really was to take a lot of it's all for the listing coordination. If you have a lot of listings, they take a lot of tasks, putting the flyers out, putting the riders out. I mean, picking up things from the mailbox. I mean, it's everything. There's just all of these. He does property checks. He gets us sodas. He delivers the 20,000 postcards. There's just a lot of anything we can do that's outside of this. They can do. So we're on our 3rd runner, and now we just got them their own van, because you do have to pay for their mileage. So you've got to, but it's much better. It's a cheaper way than having your paid assistant, who's much better leverage, not out doing these kind of more, not menial's not the right word, because they're very, but doing these costs, it's a less, it's probably $7 an hour less to have them do it. And then my listing coordinator is just sitting there and being able to focus on coordinating and not having to do all those things.
Gotcha. When you say 2,000 or 20,000 postcards, someone just typed, I thought, do they go door to door, or do you use Michael Lewis Marketing Suite, or do you use
at this point, because I was a designer in my other, or I thought I was, we do design our own. So I think the best postcard is the one that just gets out though. I used Corefact forever, because you just hit go. It's a lot more expensive, but it cemented my farms when I was going smaller, that we didn't have to think about it. So now we are using something that we've created, and we probably have 7 or 8 that we kind of rotate. And then we have, we put maybe our event on there or don't, or have some of these other things. And then I use Every Door Direct, the EDDM. And so it's really cheap. I use PS Print and Every Door Direct. So it gets it down to really, really low, and it is 20,000.
Got it. Okay. Wow. 20,000.
Yeah. That's new. It's a lot.
Yes. In the first few months after you hired your first assistant, what is the one thing you would recommend we must do? And what is the thing you would not do for us to avoid it?
Well, the biggest mistake I made was I hired a part-time assistant, which was fine, but then I hired a buyer's agent. So no, you have to have a full-time assistant, and then I would even maybe say another assistant, and then maybe a buyer's agent. I had not earned a buyer's agent yet. Not one single bit had I earned that buyer's agent, and I did them a huge disservice by thinking that I was going to support them in any sort of way or had leads enough to get them. really what I need is more administrative support, and then I could hire a buyer's agent. So that's the mistake I see people do too soon, is giving away their leads because they think they don't have time.
Got it. What are your 3 best resources for business?
It's being online presence. Make sure your Google presence is there. Make sure it's all filled out for yourself. So when people are trying to find you, they can find you. I mean, I'll be honest, if I'm looking for an agent, I look, Kalamazoo. I'll be Kalamazoo, Keller Williams. And I know there's an office. Nobody has anything filled out. Nobody has any profiles. Nobody's advertising themselves. Nobody's doing anything. So, that's free. Filling out your Google, having a really clean profile everywhere. It should be in LinkedIn. It should be in everywhere. And there's a mortgage company called JVM who, if you use them, they were helping you with your Google, your profile out in there. And if it's all the same, then you're searchable. I mean, just really and it's free. That kind of thing is free and doesn't take much time to do. And people will start to find you. If you do the business, they'll start to find you. And it's just being consistent with your database. Just keep mailing. Just keep mailing. There isn't a month off. We had 20,000 cards. We got shut down. It had an Easter egg hunt on there that we weren't going to do. And it was going to cost us another $4,000 to put them out. I'm like, just put them out. Just put them out. I mean, they're sitting here. They're not going to do me any good sitting here.
Yeah.
Just keep going. Yeah.
Do you have strict business hours for yourself being the mega agent? Are you 8 to 5, and then if, after 5, it goes to your buyer's agent, or you know what I mean? It's kind of, life by design we all want to create.
Yeah. I really try from about 7:30 at night to 8 in the morning. Mm-hmm. I really try and say, so about 12 hours, and which is not, but I have a son. And so when I took him to school, I'd be like, no work before school. It takes me out of my zone. It takes me out of this, not even a phone call. They all know, everybody on my team knows, I'll talk to you as soon as I drop them off. And then you can hit me up and we can start the day. But then I really try and do that. I really try and kind of really shut it down unless there's an emergency or something. So the nighttime's a little unwritten, but I do start to just put my phone down. But, I had somebody, of course, we all had somebody screaming at me at 8:30 at night one night. It was probably 7 years ago. And there was nothing I could do. And this woman's screaming at me. I'm like, why have I now ruined my evening? I'm upset. I can't sleep. I'm doing all this stuff. We weren't solving anything. We can't sell real estate at that time of night. So unless I'm negotiating an offer that's going to be something huge like that, or there's, on a different time zone, let's just wait till tomorrow.
Got it. Thank you so much. Do you do any past client events, or what do you do for your past clients, I should say?
Well, we do a lot of community events. So we do an Easter egg hunt, we do pies, we do garage sales, we do ice cream socials. I have done a happy hour kind of thing. It was probably 4 years ago. I want to do it again. It was on our list to, I did forget one person. We hired a part-time marketing person this year that turned into a full-time marketing person. And so we're like, oh, what a great, thing. She can start to organize this, right? So some of it is just that. So it's just providing information for my clients. That's really where I find the value. They like it.
Got it. How do you grow while sticking to your one thing? Do you have, in Bold, how we have the organizational growth chart, we're going to read 3 books, and then we're going to go to this event, and we're going to go to this class, and we're going to meet this person. What does your growth chart looks like?
Well, I say, and my mother's in the other room. This is unusual, right? But she would say, I was the person who would sit down. We'd got Great America all day, and I'd come down. Okay, so what's next? What are we doing? And so I know this was building. So I'm honestly. So that's why people go, are you okay? Is this I just thrive on what's next. I'm always looking for what's next. So I don't have a cap like, oh, we're going to be 200 and I'm going to shut it down. I'm going to do this. And I think that's part of what attracts people to me. If you're trying to attract team people and you're telling people that I'm going to retire in 2 years, or I'm going to do this, or I don't want to be if you're giving this kind of talk out, you're not going to attract the right people. And so, but to grow, I think I go through phases. I think I go through I'm going to, it will be a few weeks of we're really just, concentrating on organization. I'm not trying to do it all at the same time. So that's really what I try and do, is just kind of constantly just more, okay, this next 2 weeks, we're going to talk about operations and who's doing what jobs and what's that. And then let's take that off the plate and go to the next thing.
Got it. Got it. Thank you so much. Oh, wait, there was more questions down here. I'm like, where did I find that question? Okay. So, can you walk us through what a contract to close look like on your team and touch on transaction to close?
So the way Kristen works right now is, as soon as I go on a listing, she is creating that paperwork for me. So we actually don't have an assistant. It sounds crazy. We've not had an assistant for over a year. We need one. We need a catch-all, but we're so specialized, we don't have an assistant. But right now, Kristen creates all my paperwork and does my work for the listing agreement. And then she collects all that paperwork, because oftentimes it is a start from right then for when I get back, and then we roll that over to the listing coordinator. And so she does all of the paperwork and just like a TC, but we expect more touches. We expect her to communicate with the client. So if I say, can you call about that solar agreement and get more information from Sally? She calls and does that, right? Your TC is not going to do that. So she very much is my assistant for paperwork. And so I probably utilize her the most, but so can the buyer's agents. The buyer's agent can, she's expected to have contact with the clients basically. And the only thing she doesn't do that I've seen other teams do is that negotiate requests for repairs. So I love that for that to be at some point, because they'd be so good at some of that and getting the request for repairs in, but she doesn't. But she carries it all the way to closing, just like a TC with customer service. So
when you have a job description, right? It's kind of more and more on,
yeah.
We always have that one line at the very bottom. Well, this is the job description, but guess what? We might see more things of you, and this is the kind of thing.
Yeah, it was a hard transition for her, because she was a TC at the local Remax. And I could see that, right? How does she fit herself in without stepping on first on the agents, and she used to be an agent. So how do I balance this? What's the right piece for me to step into here? Can I, so it took some training in that for getting that. And I'd say it's always what are we expecting out of her? It's got to be super clear. And I'll tell you, so Darlene meets with the administrative staff once a week as well, and forever.
So Darlene is who? So we have clarity.
Yeah, Darlene's the operations person.
You because you don't have time. You're saying in your
yeah. So I meet with the agents now. So we've muddied this a lot. We've not met with anybody, and that doesn't work. She's met with everybody, including the sales agents. I tried to hire a sales manager to meet with the agents. But right now, what we've got is I meet with all the agents. She meets with all the operations every week. It's not just during the 30, 60, 90.
How does she hold accountable? What if they don't do it? What if they say they're going to do something, then they don't do it?
So Darlene is really good. And usually Darlene's on this call with me. So these calls, so we could throw that to her, because she's the smart one in the group. But she's very good. She's taken a lot of language. She was a productivity person in our office. So she's got a lot of good language of what's holding you up? I mean, what can I do to assist you? How can, there's a lot of good, 10 coaching questions about what's holding you up. What can I do? What do you think's in your way? Is there something that I can help with, or is there something that you need to grow with? The biggest thing that we have is them always coming back to Darlene to answer all of her questions. So we're really trying to create the environment now so they can help themselves. So how do you create an environment that you can help yourself, not just always coming to us for all the answers?
Got it. Okay, so what is the biggest mistake or learning opportunity, if you will, as a leader of your team?
I saw that one just flash up. I haven't seen those yet. I think it's about meeting with the people. I mean, I do. I think it's the communication. That's not something I'm a natural or want to do. I want to do my job, and I want you to figure out how to do yours. And I say that I'm being funny, but I really probably do. I don't want to have to tell you how to motivate you, and what are you doing, and why didn't you do that? Why didn't you go see houses? I'm like, if you want this, you do this. It doesn't seem like rocket science. So you didn't do any open houses. You didn't preview any houses. You didn't call anybody back who you're supposed to, and I can't get a hold of you, and you're upset you didn't sell. So.
Yeah.
That doesn't seem hard, but.
No, I feel you. I feel you.
So, but you have to do it. There's humans on the other side. So I have to remember that.
So it sounds like you mostly had to fully understand and fully appreciate and be real about the benefits of each person and their job. You sound like she sounds like she doesn't cut and try and utilize one person for too many jobs.
Yeah, I mean, we still do. I mean, yeah, we really do try not to, but we say, I think that's probably the hardest thing people coming from another industry. They're used to really, like we always tease that we're not PG&E, that, I mean, they get hired to manage one person's calendar. There's one person to manage another person's calendar, and they get paid $60,000 a year, just sit there and, and it's like, boy, you're going to have about 50 other tasks on my team. So, it's a hard transition for some people, that we are that. And I'd say back to the biggest mistake is hiring. I mean, just being so clear about how you're hiring and what you're hiring for is held me up. It'll hold you up.
So say that one more time. There's a few people I could see. I just want to make sure they're paying attention. What the worst, or what is how was it said? Because that was more, proper way of saying it. What is the most, where did Patty, I know it was Patty, where is she? Anyways, what was the most dramatic obstacle that you have been, that you've gone through, but it was a learning experience?
It's hiring. I mean, so when I first hired somebody, it was like, I'm like, hey, are you warming the mirror here? And I would hire you. I was afraid to ask questions. I was afraid of my own worth, probably, to ask the questions. Who was I to ask somebody? I can't even know my value. And now I'm bringing you on. And it's getting really clear and just continuing that education of how to hire. But Gary, I went and heard him talk, and he said, throw out your hiring books, throw out your leadership books and go to hiring books. That's, knowing how to hire is what's going to take us to the next step. It's not being this amazing leader and I'm going to, do all of these kind of things. But if you know how to hire, that is what's going to do it. You've got to be really clear about what you're hiring for, because that is where I went wrong. It's specifically this listing coordination job. We will hire somebody who we think has a good personality or does this, but we're not clear that it's really is you got to go be like this. We were unclear on it. So then we hired the wrong person. That's not that person's fault. It's our fault.
I agree with that. Okay. So tell me, let me see. It just, everyone's like texting me. I want to make sure, a couple of them are the same. Anybody else want to put some more in the chat, and I could, or does anybody want to just go ahead and reach out and start talking? Ashley, do you have anything? Or Diego? I can't hear you guys. Just make sure I can't hear you. How long have you been in the business again? I don't remember that. Somebody just 15?
16.
16 years.
Yeah.
And your volume again?
Is so we sold 153, and I think we were at like 110 million, maybe. I'd always get unclear on that piece.
GCI?
Yeah, that's so we did in volume in that, and my GCI, I don't know.
So, do you use a MAPS coach?
I've had a few MAPS coaches. I'm using Jeff Glover right now. Somebody from him, his name's Matt, and he's amazing. Mm-hmm. But I definitely couldn't do this without coaches in different ways. Mm-hmm. So usually when I'm missing somebody, they say you're missing a coach. So
right.
What's next? So he's been really good at clarifying everything.
So Mega Camp, family reunion, tell me about that.
I went since day one. I've been going since I was a buyer's agent. I've always went. I love learning. I love knowing that's going to be. And
yeah, but come on, you've been doing this for so long. Come on, you don't know it all? Come on.
I know, not at all. I might love Mega Camp because I love seeing the people. I love that little brief, like me right now, who I am. I would have loved it as you guys. So now I could, okay, there, I can aim to that. And then I look to the next person. Okay, I can aim to that. And there's some of it you're like, that Renee person, she can do it. I can do it. Or, because some of these people up there, you're like, all it was is being okay with the growth, really. That's really what it was. It's some personality, but it's just pushing things forward. There's a lot of this being okay. It's not being afraid of work.
Got it. Okay, here we have
a question.
Go ahead.
I want to dive a little bit more into the ISA because that's always something that I've wanted to do, and I haven't done. Mm-hmm. So the ISA piece, do they call your database, expired, stuff like that? And then where do they pull their list from? who pulls that list? Does your ISA pull that list? Or like, do you give them some sort of direction? Like, hey, I want you to call these people today. Or what does that look like?
Honestly, this was a big learning activity. My thing is I will hire almost anybody part-time. So my first ISA was part-time. And then, of course, I wanted them to do every sort of lead generation thing in the world. But what I learned is it's the incoming. It's the incoming and the follow-up are your highest money makers in our area. It's not expired. It's not all this, because what was happening is they'd be on this dialer for expires, and then 2 incoming would come along. We'd go to call them back. We couldn't get hold of them. There was our money right there. So you've got to be available. So we really, after many, this was a many, there's a big difference between outgoing and incoming and outgoing. So we have incoming ISAs. We don't have outgoing ISAs where they're dialing for dollars like this. Only outgoing they do is somebody who's registered and they need to go back and follow up with. So
I really like that.
Yeah, so we did that. Who pulls the data? Was the assistant? Was it them? Was it, who was it? But the fortune and the follow-up that's the ISA. So just having somebody to answer your phone in a timely manner is going to pay for that person so much. I mean, just having somebody answer a phone who's polite, knows how to take a good message and give you your person, because you all are losing somebody who, and then you're sitting in the car writing down this Zillow lead. Oh my gosh, I didn't call him back. And I said I was going to, and I didn't set the appointment. And you're like, oh my gosh. So there was in our area and even yours, right? That's how many thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars that you just left because we just didn't get back to it right away. So that person's like, also are basically is an assistant sitting there for your leads and being super focused with that. But you do have to know how to script with them. You do have to take the time to have them, how do you answer a phone call? How do you do this? There is some basic training in there that I've also tried not to do. And that, you've got to make sure that they're in there and doing that. I had my first one, it was somebody local, and I was paying a lot of money. I was paying maybe like 15, 16 bucks an hour and 10% of the commission. But then what would happen is they would only fish for the higher ones and they wouldn't fish for the lower ones. So after a while, when she left, I did a flat fee, and now it's around about $500 a converted all the way to close. So we started doing a $25 if you have a held appointment, $25 for their first contract written, and then a bonus once it does finally close. So, and everybody's flat. It doesn't matter if it's $300,000 or $3 million, it's the same. So that's really where I'm at right now on that for what those, but now I am pulling it all the way back, and I'm going to go back to all virtual assistants in there, because I found that the people here in our area do not value that. They don't want that job. I don't know what it is, but I can't keep them. They're no different. Or they're no different.
Do you do the CV process when you're hiring?
No, well, we do for if the ISA is going to be in the office, yes, we do go through all of it. The KPA and do all of these kind of things and motivation and, all of these things. Most of them want to be an agent. They want to come see how I'm doing it and then leave. So. Is
your number on the sign, or is the ISA's the number on the sign?
So that's a good question. I converted every phone number is the ISA's, every single one. And so, but when I was paying 10%, I would be like, oh, well, not that one, because I might get a good lead and it would still come to me, and then I'd lose it. So that's, So the 808 number is on everything. My phone number is really hard to find, actually. So the people who are on my phone are agents, because I think that's who I should be calling back, and my sellers. That's the only people who call on my phone, and past clients.
That's great that you're able to give that up, right? Because that's a little bit of a control thing.
Oh, for sure.
I would have an issue with that for a little bit. I would probably have to take a Xanax or something to get me.
That first ISA came and told me how to do it. She came in and said, because she was an ISA in Washington, and she said, this is how you do it. And I'm really good at listening. I'm like, if she goes, you get me a laptop, you get me a phone, and you start putting this phone number everywhere. And I said, okay. I got her the purple phone, I got her a laptop, and said, go. So, and then we just realized the more you put to her. And what we do too is my buyer's agents, if they have leads that they can't convert from open houses, they can toss them to the ISA, and then I'll pay the fee. So when it was 10%, I wanted them to participate. It was always complicated. Hey, for $500 in my area to convert a lead for, probably $15,000, I'll pay $500 to convert.
Yeah.
That lead.
Right. So and then they don't have
anybody over.
They don't have set hours, right? It's just whenever a call comes in, they're expected to answer it.
That is, so my first one, yes. And so I got very, very spoiled that she would answer the call whenever. No, so that is the problem, is when is she answering the phone, when they're answering the phone. So that's why right now I have to have 3. So when you have 3, you always are covered for times, and there's some overlap, right? So it does create an environment that there isn't always something to do, but in my area and for me, it's always who's answer the phone, answer the phone, answer the phone, answer the phone, the speed of lead. So, so then one person's incoming and the other person's doing all the follow-up typically to answer that. But it is, even if you had somebody coming in from 8 to 5 Monday through Friday, that's a good first round of the way to just start that off, and then your 808 number just rolls back to you, and then you're the ISA. So then as you grow, then you can start giving up. Okay, now I can hire somebody for the weekends. Okay, so then so then the less and less that you're the person answering that phone is the better.
Got it. Okay, Diego, you have a question, my friend?
Renee, so just based on your numbers, your agents are kicking butt. Congratulations.
Thanks. Thank you.
I want to say there's this misconception that being on a team, and I'm answering this just so you can answer it and other people can hear. Being on the team is not profitable. Just want to talk to your experience of some of your agents. What's the benefit of being on a team for your?
Well, so we are very fortunate. There's a couple things as what I have not done, and this was kind of a bone of contention until now. I'm not having my buyer's agents. The only thing I want them to do is show houses and write contracts and be at inspections. I'm not expecting them to be the ISA ever. In other parts of the country, they are expected to lead generate for 4 hours and then they get to go out. So I'm pulling all of the lead generation from them. So for that 50-50 split, and they're all on 50-50, I have tried other things. It's 50-50 for me, for what I do. They're very little on their day and for what I expect, and they are earning great money.
I want you to tell me this again, please. So 50-50, 50-50 for your buyer's agents and listing agents.
Well, not my listing agents. I would not pay 50-50 for my listing agents. That's actually too much money. But I don't have any listing agents on the team. I'm the only listing agent.
Got it. So, but you pay for everything.
I pay for everything. The only thing they pay for is that small TC fee. I continue to have them pay because they were already paying that couple $100 for the TC.
Got it.
The contract to close person.
Got it.
And so, I mean, I always think Keller Williams an open book. I think my top buyer's agent made $400,000 last year. And you have to think that that's $400,000 that she has paid nothing on. She didn't pay any lead gen on, no assistance, no anything. It's pure profit.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah, I have to tell you, I've been doing this for 25, 26 years, I'd be on a team, hands down, be on a team. I wouldn't want that stress that you all go on. No,
Yeah.
be on a team.
Yeah, well, to build all this, right? I'm saying she's making great money. So then she's been doing this 20 years. This is the girl who got me in the business, though, right? So clearly this girl knows what she's doing, right? So she's a closer. You give her anybody and she's so the other ones from there, though, I mean,
Oop, you froze that.
they can make, I think you can make an easy 80 to 100 the first year. And then after that, I mean, I think Mike, when he left, was made 150, doing 18, his second year in real estate you're making some pretty good money. And I know our price point's higher than yours, but we're also, I mean, these people are writing 5. I mean, it's just, they're not selling so many either to get there. So you're making good money for being a buyer's agent, and there's zero expense being there, nothing to be there. So,
Got it. Thank you. Yeah. So a few more questions. I believe you already stated this, but I'm just going to reiterate it. When you started your team, how soon did you hire your ISA or your assistant?
So that really, it's not so much time. I think I was probably 3 or 4 years, because remember I went from being a buyer's agent. Then I was probably on my own after being a buyer's agent, probably for about a year and a half. And then I got the REO account, and I knew that I couldn't do that REO account by myself. And then, so what I did is Darlene is such a good salesperson herself. She's like, okay, I will do 5 hours a week for you. And then it grew to 20 hours a week. And then it was so she kind of really grew into that role, which I was super fortunate to have. I was really fortunate with Desiree that I split Darlene in the beginning with somebody who was really good at managing and sharing a person, because that's a really, really hard thing to do, is to share an assistant. But I think it has to be where you're at in your path and how many you're selling. though I watched an agent who, I mean, she was barely making it. She went and hired herself an assistant and did 40 transactions the next year. So
Yeah.
if you are, the way I looked at my assistant though, as soon as I got an assistant, I was scared. I probably worked twice as hard then because I'm like, I gotta feed this person. This person is relying on me. I can't just go home and go shopping or do this or do that. It was scary. Yeah.
So tell me about your chat class. If we go forward with that, tell me about that so they know that it's worth the hour.
A long time to hear me come speak. So what we do is we really go and talk more about how we went from, what our structure looks like. I talk about, I haven't done it in so long now. It's like, we call it like 10 mistakes I made, and just going through what mistakes did I make? What did I learn from? And this is what this looks like. Go over, I think, the hiring process, go over a lot of what's been really popular is what I do for marketing, just kind of breaking that down even more and then being able to ask questions and those kind of things. So, and then all of the tools and tips and tricks that we use, what tools do we use? Those we saw somebody at a Maps Mega Camp do one of those with the tips and tricks, and it worked really well. We're like, oh my gosh, that's what we just need somebody else. What are you using? And we got some really good tips out of that. So we try and share that back.
Good. Awesome. Okay, you guys, any other questions before we close this up? Anybody? I can't see all the questions down here. I think that's it.
All right. Well, thank you for having me.
So I really appreciate you taking my call, and we're like very open to coming out and zooming in with us.
I did it. All right. Thanks. Nice talking with y'all. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you. All right, you guys, have a great day.